There he is.
Amazing.
Good. I'm
Oh,
glad you made it.
sorry for the wait.
Um,
Happy to see you.
yeah. So maybe you tell some everyone online who you are, a little bit bio.
Okay. Hello, all three people, one of which I know. My name is Sasha, and I love magic. I'm. It's always hard to answer who you are because that can mean so many things. I think the best way to understand who I am is to understand that I'm supremely curious and very attracted to people like you, Tattfoo. People that are doing things and that have something to say. And people, especially what I love about you is your need to express. And I sort of am a venturing soul. I love sharing magic, whatever that means. I love reading books. I love meeting people. I'm sort of a fellow human like you, and I'm a magician and a writer and an entrepreneur, and yeah.
How did you get interested in magic? Did you see a magician when you were a kid, or like, what is like? Have you traced back where the interest started?
I've traced it back to a specific period of time. It seems like there were several occasions and forces over, let's say, just over 6 months that pushed me towards magic. I'm now 22, almost 23, and when at the age of 11, I lived my first 11 years in Rome, Italy with my parents. And at the age of 11, my parents separated, and sort of my life and my family's life sort of got split apart. My sister went to America, and I went to live in France with my mom. And in that summer, in which my life was seemingly turned upside down, I was reborn. And this is sort of a pattern in my life, which is the moving from one place to another and being reborn, or using it as a new opportunity. So there were a few experiences in that 6 month period, one of which was I went to a magic shop, and they sold me a magic trick, which I didn't think that was that great. But the magician showed me this amazing piece of magic in which he took my hand, again, I must have been 10 or 11, placed a coin on my hand, and then kept checking his watch. He kept looking at his watch, waiting impatiently. I was unsure why. And he kept checking his watch, and then he snapped at the right time, and the coin went right through my hand. And I almost felt a hole in my hand. Now, I don't want to ruin magic for anyone that is curious by it or interested in it, but that's not what happened. That's what I remember happened, and that's one of the interesting things about magic. It's much less about what you experience and much more about what you remember. So I went back years later, 3 years ago, so about 8 or 9 years later, to that magic shop, and I saw the magician. I said, "Hey, you were one of the guys that got me into magic. Can you show me that trick with the coin and the watch?" He said, "What trick with the coin and the watch?" And he was about to start something, and I said, "You know what? I'd rather keep it a mystery. I'd rather remember it as I do." So that was one of many experiences.
Great. I mean, yeah, it's that's why I always connect to with the waking stage or the reality we're living in. It looks like magic, looks so real, but there's hidden interworking between everything. So yesterday we were having a little chat about society and what's going on. So we only see the magic that's going on, whether it's magic that we consider to be happy and good, and or the magic considered to be not good and unhappy. But anyways,
Yeah,
that's
I don't even know if it's about, if I can interject, I don't even
yeah.
know if it's about an interpretation of something good or wrong. I think one of the things I hope we talk about in the next time together is what you're more interested in, and what I'm starting to get more interested in, which is the concept of real magic or just magic. The magic we were talking about before was sort of illusion, sleight of hand, deception, if you want. But the real magic, um, which I, after 11 years of search, happen to believe is true. I know it's true. There's no belief. I know it's true. But I don't think it's about right and wrong. I think real magic is about perspective, and perspective of possible and impossible. I think magic is whatever we believe is impossible. And the magicians try to recreate that impossibility by setting a scenario. And the magic of life is humongous and beyond any fragment of human comprehension. So everything that we humans don't understand is magic to me.
Right. When you say when you try to recreate that magic moment, so do you have a formula? Let's say you want to do a magic trick, an illusion. Does the trick come first, or does like the final result come first? Like you wanted, or maybe an object inspire you to do something. How does it
Yeah.
work? Like where's the first step, and then the next step, and then the next step?
Tattfoo, I have more questions to you about creativity because I'm fascinated by how much you create. My method is not very efficient, but I think the mindset of a magician in terms of creating is very interesting. So it can depend. I can find a really interesting object that I've never seen before, or maybe really love. Like I'm doing a lot of work with rose petals, red rose petals, and that is inspiring a lot of magic. But I think play is a really important way for magicians to create. My girlfriend, who just came inside, will constantly throughout the day see me playing and creating magic tricks, maybe not so good magic tricks, but magic tricks nonetheless, with everything, sugar packets and everything. But the best magic, I think, comes from boredom for me. I think everybody finds their own way to create. My best creations have come when I've been really, really bored, and they just sort of flash into my mind.
Great. Me too. I think boredom is a great key towards creativity.
How come?
Because with boredom, you go into this zone where you are just zoning out, and that's when mundane objects become something interesting. You know.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
really hard to unsee. An iPhone is more than magic for our tiny brains, but we've just become accustomed to them. In one of my books, I wrote the death of mystery is becoming accustomed to the impossible. And phones, even just the fact that we're able to chat live right now is completely beyond anything you and I could ever create individually or conceive. So I think magic is also about, and this is more difficult, unlearning a lot of this conditioning, a lot of this becoming used to. But that's really hard.
yes, and a lot of your tricks deals with cards, like playing cards. And why that particular game?
Cards were, so I'll continue my story. I moved to France and I was very much alone most of the time. My dad was in another country, my sister was in another continent, and my mom was working. And I didn't speak the language. So that gave me a lot of time by myself. And I did the obvious thing. I went on YouTube and started looking at all types of things, and magic at one point came up. And I think it was a really great way to quell my boredom. I'm a very yang energy person. I'm very energetic as well. And I needed to direct that somewhere, especially in this face of strange adversity of being in a new country, particularly closed country in terms socially. And cards were a great tool. Card magic is really interesting because there's so much work that gets into the technical aspect of it, but the best magicians, the best card magicians, never make you think there's work. So it's a very, card magic in a strange way is very egoless because you're doing so much work on a technical skill. Like I'll show you something really simple. We'll use the king, and I can just very slowly turn it over. And it can change into the 3. That may have taken me a long time to work on, but my hope is that all of this really difficult technique behind it is never perceived. So it's sort of a strange pursuit of invisible perfection. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be invisible or as close to invisible. Cards were a really great way to channel a lot of energy because you can do so much with cards. So much more than just playing. Yeah, I don't do much card magic anymore though.
What? No, you don't like it anymore?
I love it. I love card magic. I don't like a lot of the card magic that you see magicians doing. because of the magician context, but we can talk about that. I'm trying to think of cards differently now, less about the values and more about the object. So there's a great magician, one of my heroes, called Paul Harris, and he's just a genius inventor. And one of the things he did was he started tearing cards, cutting cards, bending cards, and he was really changing it from the interpersonal reality we have, which is this is a three of spades, to this is a piece of paper that can be bent, folded, it has three layers. So I'm trying to think of cards a little differently. In my show, or in the show I'm writing, I only have one piece of card magic. And it hopefully shouldn't feel like a piece of card magic. I'll be sharing it with you and with all of you if you want in a little bit.
Yeah, can't wait. I just asking you because since I'm also interested in tarot cards, which is a different type of magic, so I just wanted to maybe cross-pollinate with you and see what can be, what idea I can get from a magician. And
Please.
yeah, I don't know. Like, well, the tarot card is basically reading symbol, right? You are reading basically a thumbnail animation, and that's what tarot is, you know. And
Sorry, repeat that. You're reading what animation?
like a thumbnail animations. So
Mm-hmm.
a tiny bits of pictures, a small thumbnail, and in animation you have multiple frames to make the image move. So between the first card, second card, and third card, in between those two cards, there is a card that is missing, and then you have to fill in that blank by your word, using your words. That's tarot card. So you have to create a whole story based on those three symbols or those three pictures. But those three pictures sometimes don't connect them. You have to weave a story to connect them based on the questions that someone asks, or the answer that person is seeking. So you have to weave a story around it. It's basically myth making. You know, I like it because we as humans actually, everything that we do in the world is based on this shared story that we had. You know, like democracy is a shared story. You know, everything is the story that we with. You know, so I like it because you are retelling a new story. So. So every time that I do my lecture on spirituality, I say that I'm weaving a new story, whether you want to take it as concrete or science fiction, but it is a nice story. So I'm always open for new stories to kind of incorporate, but I see it as a story. And that story will come alive to you when you actually experience it yourself.
Yeah.
Without the experience, it's just a story. So yeah, my little thing.
I'm a big fan of that Maya Angelou quote, which is roughly, and I wasn't there to see if Maya Angelou actually said this, but it's attributed to her, which is people won't remember what you did, people won't remember what you said, they'll remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
And what I like about tarot cards more than playing cards, by the way, I know nothing about tarot cards. I'm interested in them, and I think it's a good thing in our collaborative process right now that I don't know much about them. But what I'm interested in is the symbolism. They're sort of vague archetypal concepts, and that's great, but also the stigma around it gives them so much power. You know, anything that is controversial is emotional. And the best experiences, as you said, can't just tell a story, you have to feel it, you have to live it. And anytime you can evoke more emotion, you can. Magicians have tried to reframe playing cards to suit. So like spades is a personality that is sort of sharp-witted and mysterious. Hearts is warm and loving. Clubs is bubbly and outgoing. But I don't think that's the same.
Yep,
Whereas
that's the same.
right, it's the same thing, but I think tarot cards already have a more explicit message. Does that make sense? What do you think?
Yeah, well, 22 arcana has different meaning, but without the 22 arcana, the tarot card is just basically a deck of playing cards.
Right.
So
Can you show us your tarot deck, please? The minimalist one. By the way, I have been trying to look for a good tarot deck to share magic with. I'm yet to find one. My favorite is Tattfoo's. I absolutely
so this is
promise.
my oracle cards. It's just very simple, based on the the idea of a group of four things, 4 seasons, 4 elements. But the normal tarot card, I must say, this is basically the spade, right? This is sharp.
Okay.
This is sword, and this is the coin. And just now you were looking at cup. So it's all the same. This is all basically playing cards.
Spades. Yeah.
And then the major arcana, this is the only one that is different. That is different from a deck of playing cards.
Yeah.
So
Well, the
it's
major
very
arcana,
similar.
I think, is more interesting.
Yeah.
Is more
And
interesting to the reader, maybe.
yeah, yes. Well, it has pictures, so it's easier to tell people. But for me, it's basically archetypal and also your life path. Basically, from 0 to 21 is basically how you should have lived your life if you did it correctly. And the fool is who you're supposed to be. This is all of us, right? And then people really afraid, which is the death card. I'm trying to find death. Is because we are all afraid of death and mini death, like you say, the change that you have when you were a kid, those total, change of your own personality and everything. So that are like the death that people are so, not actual physical death, but psychologically, people die and have to be rebuilt themselves. So when someone, lost their job or lost their identity, people are really afraid, and people don't want those cards. You know what? The other card that people are afraid is the devil, which is, for me is addiction. We all have addiction, from shopping or to binge watching YouTube, whatever. Like we all have.
Yeah,
and
definitely consuming information is a big one.
Yeah, people are really afraid
I fall
of
prey
it.
to that.
So, yes, yeah.
Can you show us one or two more of your oracle cards? Again, I really mean it. And I see some magicians on the line, and I think they'll love them. Remember the storm.
Yeah, so my deck is really simple. It's based on things that are four. That's the storm.
Beautiful card.
Fire. Yeah. I saw my visual being frozen.
Yeah, frozen. Okay, great. I can see you again. Can I share something with your audience?
I'm back.
With our audience, using a pack of playing cards?
Yeah.
Ask Chiara to help me film this, if that's okay. Thank you, Chiara. I'd like to show you. Hi, everyone, by the way. All 7 of you. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. And I'm really grateful to Tattfoo for the opportunity to talk together and share. I'll ask Chiara to get the phone for a second. And I will ask you to film. Here we go. So. Hello. Great. Can you see?
You are frozen a little bit. So, okay.
I'll move slowly. Okay. All right. So, I gather most of us are familiar with playing cards as 4 suits: clubs, hearts, spades, and diamonds, ace to 13. But as we spoke about before, I'm less interested in the faces of the cards or the playing cards, but the actual structure of the cards. Ooh, I'm sorry. We may have to start again. Proviamo questa. Provo questa. Okay, I wasn't expecting this, but this is actually much better than what I had in mind. Tattfoo, what card do you think this is?
I don't know. Maybe Ace of Hearts?
Close. 4 of Hearts.
Oh, all right.
Close enough. It's, as I said, it's not about the identity of the card, but more about the fact that it is a card. And I want to write something on the back of this card. You won't be able to see what it says yet. Let's see here. All right. Great. I'll show you in a second what I wrote on the back of this card, but first we need to make the face just a little more personal. What are your initials, Tattfoo?
PT?
TT? T? T? I hope you can see that. Maybe, Keta, you can get a close-up. On the heart, TT.
Yep.
Great. And I'll get my initials on the bottom heart, SC. So we have TT and SC. Watch Tattfoo. And everyone involved. I want to tell you a brief story about a really interesting experience I just heard about. A gentleman called David Icke had a really interesting experience with the Amazonian plant ayahuasca. For the first 4 hours of his journey, the plant told him and revealed to him, took a female form, and revealed to him the illusory nature of reality. It spent 4 hours just describing the illusory nature of reality. And he couldn't help but laugh. He found this so funny. He just laughed and laughed for 4 hours on this psychedelic medicine. And then it ended by saying, but truly all you need to know, and you can come close for this, Chiara, is that infinite love is the only truth. Everything else is an illusion. Again, infinite love is the only truth. Tattfoo, everything else is an illusion. There you go.
Yeah, I talk about Love Friday, so it perfectly joined into my promo.
Perfect. Let me reset up the camera so that we can continue our conversation. Thank you, Chiara. Let me just show this beautiful woman. She makes me happy. Very happy. All right. You were talking about.
Yep. So we are all usually struggling with the concept of love. So I'm trying to unpack what it is, you know.
Oh wow, that will probably deepen the struggle.
like what you are experiencing right now, you know, loving another person, you know, another partners. I as what your card or message on the card says, you know, it is ultimately infinite love, you know. So your love for that person is a fraction of the infinite love, or maybe a reflection of the infinite love. So doesn't matter what happened to the relationship, but actually you are not really loving that particular entity. Actually, you are loving yourself. By reflecting your love through the entity, you are loving back yourself. So actually, a lot of people say fall in love. Actually, they are not falling in love with the person. They are only falling in love with themselves. That's why when people complain, that they say, you know, I'm not feeling heard. I'm not feeling, you don't listen to me. You don't understand me. So I like to end this relationship is because it's all about me. You know, it's not really about that person.
I think a lot of the times the mistake we make, and I know I've made, is Don Miguel Ruiz, the Toltec teacher, says that there are 6 people in a relationship. There are the 2 human beings that are falling in love or in a relationship. And then there's my belief or understanding of who Chiara is. And I usually fall in love with that. And she falls in love with her perception of me, which is not me. So those are 4 people. And then I forget the other 2 right now. But I think the mistake a lot of times we make is falling in love with our understanding or our perception of the other person. And Chiara's a wonderful person and really romantic, and so am I. But sometimes I say, utterly unromantic things to keep the relationship grounded in truth. As an example, I tell her, I I really don't know how long this relationship will last. But what I want you to know is that right now I love you dearly, and I want this to last as long as it should and as long as it possibly can. I don't know how long it will last, but it's a work I'm trying to do with myself and ultimately with her, of trying to remain grounded in true love rather than an expectation of love or a conditional love. Um, I think so far we're doing pretty well. It's only
Good,
been a
good.
year. Yeah.
Yes. What else? What else
Wait,
do
wait,
you
wait.
want to?
I'm curious to hear more about what you think about love. So, infinite love again.
Yeah, because
This.
any earthly love will not do. You know, like you will not be satisfied until you found like the ultimate love. So just if you know that in mind, so next time when you know your partner doesn't satisfy you, you know that it's not your partner. You know, it's you yourself that will
Yeah,
not
it's the
satisfy.
it's the nature of the mind. Like I know we
Yeah.
share a love for Stoicism. I'm a little intense with it because I think it holds so many answers for me. But one of the main things I got from it, and it's older than Stoicism, is this idea of desire and aversion, the mind never being satisfied, always wanting more. Like the Buddha, and I'm reading the Dhammapada, was onto so much about the mind. You can never quench its thirst. So I don't have the answer yet. Maybe you do. I know you're deeper and further, longer on the spiritual path. But like when those feelings come up, I just try to laugh at them and say, mind you, you'll never be satisfied, and I love you for it. Talking about love, I'm sorry to go on a bit of a rant, but it's been a real uh, ever it's been a real present thing, a real present force in my life for the past 2 years since I went on a really life-changing trip to Cambodia with a friend of mine who's on this chat right now. And with my own experiences with ayahuasca, I found it to be a really powerful tool, not to be used as a tool, but just trying to radiate love. I found to be the ultimate answer in all of the situations I've been so far. And if I can share a really brief story that may be useful to someone there, and it was definitely useful for me. Is that okay if I share a brief story
Yeah.
about love?
Mm-hmm.
Last summer, my mother and I have a wonderful, deep relationship, and at the same time, difficulties that come from the mother-son relationship. And really briefly, last summer it got to an all-time high at one point, and I felt like she was being really unfair. And talking about real magic, I find that I experience a lot of real magic whenever I go way outside of my comfort zone. So I went to my first party in like a year or 2 years, 4 hours drive away. And there, to keep it short, I just asked God. I really clearly just asked God, help. Tell me what to do, please. I don't, just tell me what to do here. And 2 hours later, I was in the restroom and I fell to the ground. And this sentence just kept being repeated in my head for about 30 minutes, which is, for hate is not conquered by hate. Hate is conquered by love. This is a law eternal. Again, for hate is not conquered by hate. Hate is conquered by love. This is a law eternal. From, I think the Buddha said that. And the way it manifested is I kept being repeated for half an hour. I had a beautiful night. And a day later, I went back to my mom and I immediately got attacked. Immediately. As soon as I arrived, what I thought was unfairly. And what I did was, instead of shutting down, I tried to give her love by being completely silent and understanding this was not her. And I promise you, Tattfoo, within 2 minutes, she was crying. She was crying, and that was a healing conversation. So I was thinking about this coming to this conversation, the power of love. It's been so present for me. Even today, I was walking around, and someone did looking at me like that, and I felt sort of a negative energy. And again, I always try to come back to that project love. I haven't found a more powerful force, but do you do that? Do you have your own practices to recenter yourself in love of what is?
Yeah. So even hate is love, because hate is just negative love, right? So like when you feel love is like here, and then hate is just the lack of this positive love. It just go towards the
Okay.
other end. So so that's actually no hate. It's just the shadow love.
Right. Infinite love is the only truth.
Yeah.
Hate, anger, fear is an illusion.
Yeah, yeah. For I don't know. For me, as you said, you go for a walk. Nature is always center you back because you see the magic that is nature. And it's like, wow, what happened to this tree? How can it grow? Like, wow, all human outside doing things and having
Yeah.
families and relationship and I always amazed of what human can do. Like building planes and like crazy stuff, going to the moon. So things like that always I don't know, shake me up to the wonder of the world. That's how I come back to the uh, to the ground. And
Isn't that amazing that the way you come back to the ground is by recentering yourself in wonder of all things.
right.
It's a beautiful force.
Yeah, it is. Yesterday, I pulled some cards just to check in on like how you doing and feeling, and this is what is being
Oh,
shared.
this is my reading?
Yeah,
I can't see the cards. Can you tell me about them and maybe tell me
you
what I
can,
can learn from them?
like here. Can you see?
Yeah. A little higher, sorry. I can see the cards. I couldn't see what's written. Okay. What are the cards?
You can see the cards now.
Yes.
You can read it. You can actually read it.
I think your fingers are on top of them.
Oh, let me see. I have to hold them somehow.
No worries. Can you tell me about them, maybe?
Let me see. I will hold the top part. How about that?
Okay. Thank you for doing this. So the first one is it's mirrored and it's sort of blurry. I'm sorry, Tattfoo. I
No
can't see
problem.
it.
The first one is called Le Batelier, which is the magician.
Le Batelier.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
a magician. And then the second card is number 4, is the emperor. And then the third card is the empress. But can you see the card? What's going on?
The Batelier is constructing or playing.
Yeah, and then he is looking on one side, and then the emperor is looking at him. But the empress is looking on the other way, hugging on her shield. This is your family.
Family.
You just told me your mom story.
Yes.
She's not looking at you. She's not supporting. She's like in her own zone.
Yes, she is.
This is your father. He's looking
Yes,
at,
she is.
he is supporting you. Look at him. Like he's
Yes.
looking at you, doing your thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Thank
that's
you
the
for
thing.
that.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. So Le Batelier is the magician.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. He's tinkering.
Yeah. He's playing with the 4 elements. So he has the cards is in the table. So the spade is, the sword, the baton, and then the coins and the cups is all in there. All the 4
Yeah.
elements. Yeah. The
Okay.
4 he's doing his thing.
Thank you for those 3 cards, Tattfoo. They bring clarity.
Yeah.
Or at least, the meaning I make of them brings clarity.
Yeah, it's very straightforward. I see it, and then since I know a little bit, a few members of your family felt like like the family portrait right there.
Yeah. Well, I think Jean is missing in there.
Yeah,
Who we met through. That I just want to. She's probably not on the call right now, but I hope she sees this. Jean, you are such a gift. In my deck of cards, what I do is I assign meaning to most of the cards. So, oh, there you go. Speaking of Jean, the first card, the Queen of Hearts, is Jean because she is such a loving, loving person. She has brought so much love to my family. So thank you, Jean. King of Hearts is my best friend, etc. But funny she's on top. Thank you, Jean. Just a quick. Oh, Jean is here. You're a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful being, Jean, and I'm grateful every day that you live in my life. And we get to share all these moments together, and I hope that I can give you nearly as much love as you have given my family and myself. Thank you.
Love you, Jinju, from New York. Hope you
Love
are
you, Jay.
staying safe.
She's fine. She has her dog and her husband, her man. She's
Yeah.
fine.
All right. Anything else that we should talk about before we sign off?
Yeah, I is maybe we can ask the six people with us right now if there's anything they'd like to hear or know or a question they have. Because
Yeah.
magic is a really rich field. And I have more to bring than just magic, but I have my own thoughts on it and the process. I can actually share a few philosophical ideas that may be interesting for everyone here. Thank you, Gene. I'll share a quick philosophical idea with you if that's okay. One of my ideas on magic, which is, let's say this. Tattfoo, do you have a pen and a piece of paper?
Yep.
Okay. I want you to think of your bank card, so your PIN, okay? And I want you to write your 4-digit PIN code on that card, on that piece of
Okay.
paper, and turn it face down.
Okay.
Go for it.
Okay.
Perfect. So show us the back of it so we can't see, but that is your real 4-digit PIN code, yes?
Yeah.
Great. You can put it away. No trick coming. This is the lesson, I think, which is I just asked you to do something completely insane. I asked you to, in front of a camera, write your 4-digit PIN code and show us the paper. And this is something that I do in my show because I'm trying to illustrate the power of context. Because of the context being established by the fact that you perceive me as a magician or a mentalist, so whenever you hear, we have a magician at dinner, you have a certain expectation of what a magician is. As soon as those expectations are broken, that gives me free territory to make magic whatever I want it to be, which means to set my own rules. A rule, for example, like asking you to write your PIN code on a piece of paper and give it back to me. As soon as I set that around the context of a magic trick, you'll do whatever I want. I'll give you another example, which is hypnotists turning people into chickens or making them believe they're chickens. They would never do that in front of other people, but because of the context, they'll let themselves go. So I'll give one last example, and then we'll move on to another principle. Again, the power of context. Let's say someone just stole your watch and your wallet and your belt. How would you feel, Tattfoo? And they gave them back to you to show you how clever they were. How would you feel?
Right.
Not so good, right?
But they get it back to you, so it's okay.
Sure, but if the context is you are with a magician who's doing a magic trick to you, and within those things he has stolen your watch, your wallet, and your belt to prove to you the power of perception or attention, because of just a context, which is something socially agreed upon, it makes a crazy behavior feel okay. So the unexpected power of context is what I call that. Another concept I've been thinking about recently is perception. So how do you say this sign? Small, big, you know?
Yeah.
So perception is bigger than reality. I learned this on a really interesting night in the middle of Madrid where, long story short, I was invited to perform in a country I don't know, in a language I don't speak, in front of 50 Spanish people. After 6 of the great Spanish magicians. It was an open mic night. And I went up, and at one point I said, I'm just going to have fun, because they gave me like a pasta strainer to do magic with. It's a long story. And what I thought about is, I'm going to steal this guy's wallet. I'm just going to give it back to him, and everybody else will see me stealing his wallet. It's like a theatrical convention. Like, let's say this is someone's back, I show the wallet behind their back. And then I thought, but what if I just steal my own wallet and then show everyone else, and because I touched the guy, they'll just think it's his wallet, right? So I stole my own wallet off of him, and the perception of everyone else is he stole his wallet. The reality is I stole my own wallet. So perception is more powerful than reality. Another idea is Donald Trump may be a really sweet human being. We don't know. But our perception of him, maybe rightly so, is that he's a piece of shit. And our perception of him is more powerful than the reality of who he is. Right? I'm not defending Donald Trump. I don't know anything about him. Does that make sense? Two
Yeah,
concepts.
totally. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Someone is
Sure.
asking, what do you think is the purpose of magic, if there is one?
Uh, I don't think about purposes. I don't burden my mind with such things. I think the other way of asking that question, it's a good question, is what do I think are the gifts of magic? The purpose of magic is to be shared because I can't perform or share a magic trick with myself, right? All those years in my room practicing with cards or coins, it's not impressive to me because I know how the trick works. So the purpose of magic maybe is to be shared or performed, but the gifts of magic, what makes it especially interesting, I think, is fourfold. But you may disagree and challenge me, and that's completely cool. Please, let's go there if necessary. But four gifts. One is the experience of magic. So let's say something as simple as I take a card. Let me see, three, right? I'll hold it really gently. Wow, already. Okay, it already changed. So that's one. That's the moment of magic. That's the first gift, that moment of astonishment, if you want. The emotion that comes from the moment. That's the second gift. So the first gift is the moment of magic. Something that you perceive as impossible has just happened, which is a valuable memory, right? So the moment of magic. Then the emotion of wonder, what we spoke about. You just set an expectation. This is not possible. It just happened in front of me. It must be magic, even if it's a magic trick. So something that you considered impossible just happened in front of you. That's a gift. The emotion you feel as a reaction of that, that's a gift. And then so those are the two. Then the third one is the memory of magic. And this is what I'm really interested in, and I think is so interesting in magic, is that you can manipulate and tweak and better the memory of the magical experience. Let me give you an example. Actually, let me finish my thought and then I'll give you an example. So the memory of the magical experience. What's interesting is that the moment of magic is finite. Only you and the people in this call will see that moment of magic. The memory of magic can potentially be infinite because you can share it with other people. You can tell other people, I met a magician and he stole my watch. It's not something you forget. And that's cool to the other person as well. And the cool thing for a magician is you will tweak and make that memory look better than it really is as it passes on. So those are the experience of magic, the emotion, the memory, and ultimately it's the moral. And the moral is the one that I think is really challenging and not to be, it's sort of like art, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on art. The moral is, what did I learn? And most of the time we do this unconsciously. Most of the time. So my hope is that the moral of our experience together after having shared a piece of magic is, oh, well, maybe a little more is possible than I thought, than I led myself to believe. That may not be true. That card may not have actually magically changed into another, but maybe there's something more possible than what I lead myself to believe. And that's a great gift. If a magician can do that, that's what I strive for. So I think the purpose of magic is to share it because it's a gift that you can't gift to yourself. You can gift it to other people. And the gifts of magic are fourfold. There you go. I hope I didn't go too long on a rant there.
Great, great. So I wanted to use these same words into my spiritual belief that I preach or tell people. So
Please.
God is a magician, so he's an illusionist, or he, she is, whatever. I just call it God, and he has a gift to share, but he has no one to share it with because he is the only one. He's the only one in everything. He's all alone, you know. And he said, okay, I'm going to create duality, another person, so that that person can see me. So he just keep on creating the world that we live in. But he created the world so good that he said, well, I should be part of the world so that I could enjoy it of my own creation. But then when he joined the illusion that he created, he forgot that he was the creator. He just been consumed by the magic. Now we as human are like searching for who we originally are. That's the whole story that I'm weaving. So it's the moment and the emotion of wonder that we want. You know, it's the memory of being a human. And the whole idea of living the life is the moral story, you know, what we have done is 80 years or 60 years that we live in the world.
Right.
And this is gift, both a gift from God and also being God, He Himself, giving a gift to Himself, basically.
I'll have to think about that.
Yeah. So I know my curious about your practice because it is really connected to spirituality that I'm understanding. A lot of people might see the illusionist as an entertainment or art form, but yeah, I see as a spiritual practice because it is very closely connected to the world that we live in. Really closely connected, and we just can't see it. We just can't see through that we are not the human and not the name and the body. We keep going back to the physical, obvious things that we used to.
Yeah, there's this great quote which is, "The world is an amazing magician. We are just an audience too distracted to accept its gift."
Yeah, that makes sense.
I have to, you gave me an idea. Let me run for about 10 seconds and find a book. Here we go. So you were talking about God as a magician and creating duality to share the magic with the others. There's a really interesting book. Maybe I misunderstood that, but there's a really interesting book written by a neuroscientist called David Eagleman, called Sum, S-U-M, Tattfoo. I would really, I would buy it for you. I would really recommend this for you. S-U-M. And it's a thought experiment. And the thought experiment is to create 40 alternative afterlives. So in one of the afterlives, God is a fan of Michael Jackson. In one of the afterlives, you get to live your life again minus one thing. In another one of the afterlives, you are surrounded by all of the people you ever met or saw, and you feel supremely lonely. The point of it is that they're all really clever and really deep. And there's one quote that I got from it which I really like. I'll share it with you. I really think you'd like this book, Tattfoo. Here we go. I won't tell you the story, but there's just... Oh, by the way, each story is 1.5 pages long. And it's a tiny book. That's a good thing. So the quote I really liked was, "It is not the brave who can handle the big face, God. It is the brave who can handle its absence." I just thought that was interesting, not true, but it's a really great book. If I can give one more book recommendation, I don't mean to preach, but I so love this book, and it may have sold 100 copies, and it's really sad to me. It's just my favorite book, maybe one of them for sure. No one knows about it. It's called That Sense of Wonder. Please, anyone watching, if you must, forget anything I've said and just read this book. It will speak of wonder more clearly than I could ever, and than I have ever seen spoken of. That Sense of Wonder by Francesco Dimitri. I will push this book my entire life. It's that important, and it's really fun. And just, yeah, there you go.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
I guess that we should end it here, so that we won't too long of the video for people to watch. And it was great chatting with you, and thank you for sharing your. And stay healthy and safe.
Thank you. And Tattfoo, I have to end with just a little love your way, which is I not only really respect you, but really admire you. I love what you're doing. I know the compliments are not your things you value, maybe not that much, but I care about you. I respect you. I'm honored to be on this call. I think you're a really interesting, cool guy. And I want to see your projects go further. And I hope that maybe we can collaborate. I've been trying to get you, or to talk to you about creating a deck of cards that could be useful to others for a while. I have a few ideas, and I really hope we can get that happening. I have an idea for a deck of cards that could be really useful for other people and could bring a lot of wonder to the world. So maybe we'll talk about that. But mostly, I really love you.
Yeah, I really appreciate all the compliment, and I love you. So take care, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you for coming, everyone. And thank you for
Thank
being
you,
here.
everyone. Bye bye.
Much love.